Hey, everybody, welcome back to the podcast. My name is Akeisha. I'm your host today on the Let Go Movement podcast. And today I have my friend, Allison Stucky. She's a Toronto based girl. She is working with women that are going through that last chapter of life, that last transition, the one we call menopause, perimenopause. And she has a very different perspective on this time in the female lifespan and what a gift and opportunity it is to go through this time. So I'm so excited because her and I both have slightly the same demographic. Funny enough, I do work with a lot of women who are, at maybe 5 to 6 years ahead of me and are starting to enter that stage of their life, or women who have gone through it and now are looking to release some things. So she works with women that are going through that time in their life, because she's gone through it. She went through it with a very different perspective. She's had a very different experience of it. And I think this conversation is part of the momentum to change the dominant energy and conversation around this time of a female's life. So highly recommend giving this a listen. Send it to your friends if you feel like they just need to hear this different perspective, because maybe it sparks something in them to seek out a different approach to this whole chapter of our life that all women go through. Hi, Allison. How are you today?
Hi, Akeisha. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited that you've jumped on to my podcast. Thank you so much. I'm excited to have this conversation with you because we've met numerous times. We've worked with each other. We've both had unreal sessions with each other. I'm still unraveling what you did for me. And this conversation that you have with women from your point of view of like what your time in your life is so interconnected with what we both do, but you speak to it from a very spiritual awakening perspective. And I'm really excited to have this conversation because the current dominant conversation out there is that our bodies are breaking down, is that we are kind of like at the end kind of thing. And you see it from a very different perspective. And I'm excited for people who do know you to get more in depth with you here, hearing about your experience and what you do. And also for anybody who's new that finds themselves in the same situation to be like, wait, there's a different perspective. There's a different way of addressing this time that we're going to talk about in a second. There is something more here for me to explore and go on. So I'm so excited to have this conversation. We were both talking outside of this recording, saying that or was it with somebody else, but it was tied to this conversation. Anyways, our demographic of clients tends to be the same age group, but I'm not in the stage of life that your clients are in. So I just knew that I had to have you on the podcast to speak to this because you speak to it from a place of you are in it and you've gone through this and it's just a different level. So before we get into all of that,
It's a
um,
different perspective.
can can you introduce yourself and also share with us how you've gotten to today, essentially?
Okay. So I am Allison Stucky, and I define myself as a spiritual guide and intuitive energy healer, which is this much of what I actually do. And I'm in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Uh, this has been a lifelong journey. I have always had these gifts. It just was shut down because it wasn't how it was meant to be, in what was expected, what was happening in my life. And I hid it for a really long time, but it's always been an inherent part of me. And it went through a whole metamorphosis where it was making me sick for most of my life because I was denying it. I grew up with throat infections because I wasn't speaking my truth. I wasn't doing what I was meant to be doing. And I had a whole myriad of other illnesses in the past 10, 15, 20 years. And it just brought me to where I was because everything was slap over the head by spirit saying, you're not supposed to be living life going this way. You're meant to be over there. and I wasn't listening. So fast forward to about 15 years ago when this became a huge part of my life. I couldn't deny any longer. It was just something so prevalent, and I had to be who I was. Otherwise, I was going to shrivel up and die inside because it was already killing me. And at that time, I was in a business that was very corporate focused. Corporate, it wasn't a corporate job, but it had a corporate push. Numbers, 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 talk to the people, make the numbers, do the sales. And it was very inauthentic for me. Even though I loved it, I love the products, I love the fastness of it. But I remember we were promoting to it was network marketing. We were promoting to a level, and I just put the brakes on, and everything was passing by me, like those ships in movies that go down the light tunnel and out into space. That was happening, and I was standing in the middle of it. And I thought, what is happening? This isn't right. Like, all this is going and it doesn't feel right for me. Fast forward 7 months after that, I was in my 40s with a case of mono with complications. Mono in your 40s as opposed to mono in your teens and your 20s is a very different thing. I was incapable of doing anything. I did not drive a car for 2 months because I couldn't concentrate. I would be talking and I didn't know what the next, like, I couldn't grab the words as I was talking. It was the most bizarre thing because I'm a writer, I have an English degree. Like, what is happening? And I was just living life inauthentically, so inauthentically. I tried to push again. I got sick again with food sensitivities and allergies. At the time, I was selling skincare and makeup. It looked like I'd taken a curling iron across my neck, down the side of my face. My face was full of eczema. I'm like, this isn't from that. I don't think you want to buy some. My confidence plummeted. My business just imploded and dissolved, basically. And I still was trying to do it inauthentically, but I was moving in this very um, fast and intense lane of personal growth. I was a prolific novel reader of fiction, and for 4 years, I did not pick up one fiction book. It was all personal growth. And personal growth and spiritual growth go together. You can't have one without the other. And everything that I do, everything that I was, just started coming up. The dreams, the people who could connect me in. I was reading tarot cards and oracle cards at the time. My intuition was exploding. And in the midst of it, I didn't have anybody to talk to. I was figuring it out on my own. Now there's so many people in my life who I can go to, and they sort of dropped in when I really needed them as I was going through this. And suddenly here we are, 12, 15 years into it, and I'm the one advising people. I tell people all the time, there is absolutely nothing you can tell me that will shock me. Maybe if you murdered somebody, but in the spirit realm, there is nothing you can tell me that I have not already heard. And even if I haven't heard it, I will be open to it.
Mm-hmm.
So it has been this magical expansion. I've always been curious in my life. I always am the one asking the questions. I am always the one seeking more knowledge. I'm a lifelong learner. And knowing that my life was here and it was so regimented and confined, the expansiveness to where it is now, the possibility, the potential. I've been training all my life for where I am now in midlife, having gone through menopause. And so many people are looking at retiring, and like my friends I went to high school with, retiring, and oh, I'll be working for 2 more years and I'm retiring. Well, what are you going to do then? I'm just getting started because I have so much to do, and I have longevity on my side genetically. So I'm planning to be here for a lot more years.
Yeah. Can we quickly bring it back for a hot second here? How does, because you were saying your intuition was coming online, but for a while, for that beginning half of your your years here, you shut that off. So were you
It was
still
always there. It was just
there? You
muted.
were just not really paying attention to it. Obviously not, sharing it with people. How does your intuition show up for you now? Or has that been an evolution of how it showed up?
It's always been there. I've always been empathetic. I have always had issues in crowds. I have always read people. I was the chameleon in
Mm,
school, in my job, friends with everybody. Nobody ever really knew me really deeply. Everything was cursory. I didn't let people in, but I could always feel they're my people, and I'd veer away from people who weren't my people or it was unsafe. I always had that sixth sense. I've always had that sixth sense. I can probably name all the concerts I've ever been to in my life. It might take up 10 digits because I just can't be in lots of energy, lots of crowds. But until about 10, 15 years ago, I had no idea what empathy was. And I just knew if I went and did that, I was going to crash after. I
right.
used to be an event management person. So I'd go into huge events of 250, 500, 1,000, thousands of people. Inevitably, I'd leave the event completely sick, swollen glands, sore throat, super sick, all in here. So my third eye, my throat chakra, everything was neck up. And I execute these events in this huge illness, but then crash and have to rest or be sick or be off work for 4, 5, 6 days. I go away to, I used to go to conferences in Vegas, and I would have to come home and take days off. I didn't know why. I just thought I was tired. I'd done too
Right.
much.
And so now shifting into you paying attention to your gifts, being in your alignment, doing the work that you're doing now, how has that affected that area of your life?
I listen to it more. I schedule in um, downtime
Mm.
after I work with clients when I'm on big events. If I've got a busy week, I will take Friday off if I need to because I need to regroup. I need to have my downtime. I have an incredibly busy yesterday, today, and tomorrow, which is it's just the way things happen to schedule without my knowledge in my calendar. And I hadn't blocked off time. So I'm going all day. And we have a sporting event that's keeping people up late at night right now. And last night I was up till almost 2 o'clock. And I thought, oh my goodness, I didn't. And I'm going out tonight and tomorrow night. And I'm thinking, okay, Thursday, Friday, I'm going to just calm and relax. And I actually things work out because I was supposed to be out on Thursday, and the universe is always working for me. I was supposed to be out on Thursday, tonight, tomorrow night, and Thursday. And I just got a message a couple hours ago. The universe always works in your favor. I
Always.
can't do it this Thursday. Can we reschedule? I'm like, perfect. So I'm having my downtime, and that seems to happen. Things fall away. And it's not so much even me just thinking, wow, that's way too much and I need time off. And then it fades away or it cancels or whatever. It just naturally does that, even if I'm not putting energy towards it.
Right. Which is
Yeah.
such, I mean, right there is such a wisdom because when we are trained to schedule. We're trained to be super high productivity, which is high high input, export, or more so high export. Um, but that understanding that you can take the time, you can schedule your schedule, you can ask things to fall away to give you more space. And when it does, here's the wisdom truth, you see it as a gift. You don't see it as, oh my God, what happened? I just lost that. I just like lost that. It's like if you feel, and this I think comes with just like growing up and understanding life happens, but I think I would like to see that really be the dominant energy perspective of when we have things fall away from our schedule, looking at it from like, what's the gift here? What do I get now? Thanks, universe, for taking off my plate. I was kind of looking at my schedule like that's a little much. I could do with one thing not on there, and then it just took the easiest thing out. And really, like, the wisdom is seeing it in a different perspective. Um,
100%.
when we talk about perspectives and we talk about midlife and the work that you do, can you talk about more how that's showing up in the work that you do? Because I know you have this very different perspective of menopause, midlife, life after retirement. And I love how we're both understanding that there's like, it's a release time, but share with people who don't know you or people who do know you, and share with me where does that stem from? What made you see it in a very different way than what's taught to us from a very young age?
Yeah. I remember a distinct conversation. My kids were still in grade school and they're in their 20s now. So it was a lot of years ago, with a friend. And we're just moms waiting for our kids on the sidewalk. And she was talking about her hot flash. And she had kids who were older. Her youngest was the age of my eldest, and she had kids who were older. So she was a few years older than me. And I remember her talking about waking up almost every night and having to change her sheets because she was sweating so much. And my immediate thought was, ew.
Yeah.
And I thought, how can that even happen? Like, why does that happen? And I'm always curious, wondering, like, why? Why do some people have this? Why do some people not? Whatever. And hearing all the things about hair loss and memory loss and forgetting your stuff and being really cranky, like having PMS all the time, going through menopause, and weight gain and all the things in between. And I thought, does it have to be this way? And I was expanding at the time, and this is going back 15 plus years. And I was expanding at the time and just expanding my awareness. And I thought, yeah, I'm probably in perimenopause now. I've got some of those things. I've got the hangries, I've got all the emotional stuff. And everything in my life was expanding. I was just becoming more and more and more aware. I was able to understand this. I was able to see that. I was able to read that. And during all of this, I've talked to many, many, many women because I'm in my late 50s, and a lot of people around me are around my age in their 50s now and going through various stages of menopause, perimenopause. The topics we talk about are all crazy, and we're all going through the same thing, but we don't talk about it.
Mhm.
We don't talk about all this stuff that happens if you're in this stage of life after having kids. It's a whole other concept that almost all of us are going through. And we don't talk enough about it. But once I'm the person who people come to and reveal the too much information, I'm like, whoa, 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 I don't need to know that about you. It's always been that way. So I tend to get those people and hear all the stories. And I just thought, okay, why are you not experiencing the hot flashes? And why are you group over there experiencing the hot flashes? And when I started going through that intense part of menopause, I was also doing an enormous amount of energy healing. And when I heal energetically, I sweat. I sweat. I have, I can go from that to that, and I know I'm releasing something. And it's exactly the same as a menopause hot flash, pretty much. And I thought, and this is only in the last few years as I've been talking and really expanded out and understand even more powerfully the effects of the energy healing. I thought, what if all of these things, the memory loss and the hair loss and all of the things we go through, the hot flashes, the weight gain, is an evolution. And we're actually moving through this time in our life from who we were to who we now are, but we're still stuck in who we were because in that 20 or 30 years between who we are now and who we were, we've been torn in all these different directions with kids, with parents, with relationships, with job stuff. And now we're in menopause that we're still thinking of who we were as who we are now. And you're not going to fit into those genes that you've kept for 20 years because you've had 3 kids. And there's no reason because you are a different person. You have wisdom, knowledge, and experience to who you are now. But what if this beautiful thing called menopause is just a shift and it's literally us letting go and releasing, purging ourselves of all these things. And if the memory loss is just, you don't need to program yourself. When I'm being pulled in all these ways, yeah, I used to go downstairs 15 times to get one thing because every time I went down, I'd forget. But once I became aware and more present, that hasn't happened to me in about 6 years. But if I'm distracted with other stuff, I'll go downstairs. Why did I come down here? Go back upstairs and inevitably focus back in, release everything else, go back down, find what I went down for. But I don't do it 5 or 6 times. I don't leave my glasses and not know where they are because I'm more present and I'm aware. Awareness creates the shift. If you're not aware and you're not tuning into what's happening, I had hair loss, very, very bad hair loss. I used to have I have thick hair, but I had a lot of hair. It was shocking to me about 7 years ago how much hair was coming out in the shower, to the point that I went to find products that would help it. And as soon as I started focusing on energy healing, I'm like, oh, I'm not losing any more hair than I used to lose.
Mhm.
So my perspective shifted from, oh, I'm going through this and this is happening to me, to maybe this is just helping me shift to this new stage of life. And I'm so looking forward to the next 20 or 30 years. And I am lucky to have that longevity in my family. But at the same time, I have a lot to do. I've been preparing my whole life for this. Finding myself again, coming back to myself, being able to be at this stage and have extricated myself from a relationship that didn't work, that kept me shut down. All the healing, all the things that taught me, going through mental health issues with my kids. That is one of the biggest things I hear from moms in middle age. Our kids are not okay, and we don't talk about it. Our kids are struggling in late teens and 20s. They've come here for a purpose. And if you are not aware, you cannot help them. If you are still stuck in your box, you're not going to be able to help them. And it's a very different conversation with your kids if you are spiritually aware. If you are not, it is a very different conversation.
Yeah,
And these are women that I coach.
you're
Yeah.
feeding when you're not tapped into the awareness and the energetic. Let's just blanket it, not spiritual. Let's just go a little bit more broader there.
Yeah.
The more
Energetic.
energetic
Yeah.
things, then we're feeding a different conversation that just promotes more shutdown and not
Yeah.
more awareness. Um, I absolutely love this conversation because it's so rooted in changing your perspective. And for me, that is the foundation, like, is the foundation for so
Mhm.
much of what I do in the world is just to simply switch the perspective. And when you're talking about hot flashes, it reminded me of my time personally when I went through like really bad cramps. And people were just like, oh, just take this pill and or take this pill or here's this device. And I had done a lot of emotion code work beforehand. And then I was like, hey, I'm going to try and ask my uterus what it can release. And
That's so
it
good.
was insane. Like, I think I had like 22, 24 emotions in one sitting. And I was going back 20 plus years of just like held trapped emotions in my sex organs, in my uterus. And the severity, the intensity of my cramps before this and after was so drastic. I was like, okay, I'm so sold on whatever the heck I just did. And this was like early on in my own energy, spiritual work that I've done on myself. And it reminds me of when we have or when women have hot flashes, that release of energy that the body is going through, similar to cramps, but you're not necessarily having the cramps like you used to, but that heat and uncomfortableness and whatnot, it can be with, it can all be with more ease. But it starts with perspective. It starts with, I can look at this in a very different way.
Yeah.
So when you work with women who are in this time of their life, who are feeling a little lost, and they want to connect back to their bodies. What are some things you find like common threads or, yeah, common threads between the work that you're doing and the people you're doing it with?
Most women are feeling that disconnect from themselves and being pulled in all of these ways with menopause as it's been defined by
Mm.
society as a burden. And it's a it's almost been it's almost like a curse
That's how it's been
that,
framed. Yeah.
yeah, you are in menopause, well, everything's gonna blow up, everything's gonna change. I was just reading something the other day, I don't know why it came across my feed, and I'm just a headline reader because I don't buy into the narrative necessarily, and it said, "Oh, now you're in menopause, your risk of cancer has gone up X percent." I'm like, "That's an interesting perspective."
Interesting point of view.
If I believe that, my risk of cancer is going to go up.
Mm-hmm.
Energetically, I know that.
Mm-hmm.
I do not have a history of cancers in my family. Your risk of heart attack goes up. My heart's healthy. Why can't I just energetically keep myself healthy? I'm not putting that weight of, oh, now I'm in menopause. Do you know that this and this goes up because you're in menopause? Why is there suddenly a switch that's flipped once you go through this? What if it's an actual clearing, and when these things are thrust upon you, you ingest it and you make that your truth, which creates the cause for
Yeah.
the effect. Whereas if you don't buy into it, we are meant to be fully functioning human, healthy beings. We've just gone through this release of something that's so sacred to the divine feminine that has been thrust upon us as a curse.
But
What
what
if
if it's not?
it's an evolution from being able to, whether you had kids or not, being able to have that divine fleshing every month, that regeneration of your entire system every month, you don't have to have the pain. You maybe you did, but that's likely ancestral stuff that's come through, and you're carrying that burden. It's supposed to be a divine, beautiful thing. And what if that evolution from being able to bear children to this next stage of life is just like saying goodbye to it and allowing something else, as opposed to this curse? Well, now you're old.
Mhm.
I don't feel old. I got a lot of life left in me. I do not feel. Do you see those pictures now of the Golden Girls? This is
Yeah.
what 45 used to. Oh my God. Like my grandma was in her 60s and she was old.
Yeah, it's how
Like
you
this is not
perceived.
this is not who I see. I do not see myself. There's the joke when my sister-in-law sent me about, yeah, you talk about 30 years ago. Well, 30 years ago was like this the 70s. No.
Yeah. That's great. I have a feeling when women, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, when women are stepping into your space, it's finally this space for them that's like my body is good. I because I mean astrologically we go like Saturn returns the first time and then Saturn returns the second time and we go into this new chapter. So when you look at it from an astrological point of view, there is this thing that centuries have told us this is the next that this is a new chapter. Um, but everyone wants to know, well, everyone wants to have the answer. Everyone wants to have the remedy. Everyone wants to like output that personal experience. So your space that you're inviting women into now is the space to, hey, you're going through this time. We're going to change the perspective. We're going to allow the body to go through these things. And can we create a different experience for you physically, emotionally, energetically? Um, the whole experience is going to shift and change. Because it is very different when one person's having a hot flash and they're bashing their body versus one person have a hot flash and they're like, okay, we're releasing energy. Like it is, I've sat in two different cars recently. One person was having a hot flash and it was like doom and gloom and drama. And the other person on another day was having a hot flash and it was just like energy flow. And I was like, okay, I'm releasing something. Maybe I was triggered by our conversation. I don't know, but whatever it is. And that person's experience was so different um, than the other
Well,
person. And that shows up in
yeah.
anything in life. So this is no different in a
I've been
sense.
menopausal for 2 years. I still get hot flashes. I'm like, oh, what was I thinking about? That's what I was clearing. It's very it would look like a hot flash to anybody else sitting with me, but because of what I'm tuned into at that point, I know I'm clearing something.
So there's such a connection between the body and you,
Yeah.
which is so beautiful. I think there's so many of us that are in this space, myself included, that our work has deep roots in you connecting to yourself, you understanding that the pain that or the discomfort your body is feeling may not 100% belong to you. You're picking up on something or your body is like um remembering something that happened in the past and it feels like this situation is similar, so it's going to let you know these things, and it's our job to start talking. And I mean, this is what people, there's so many of us that are in this space that whether we do it from a nervous system point of view or the emotional or the energetic or the intuitive, we are all trying to bring people back into communication and explore that. And I think what's really important to touch on is that it does look very different from everybody that's coming into your space. And they are going to experience the quote unquote same things, you know, these laundry lists of like, oh, you're checking all the symptoms off. But that experience in that person, in that exploration of questioning, hey, body, what are we triggered by? Hey body, what what am I so mad at right now that I feel like I'm going to burn the house down? Can I relinquish that into a journal, or can I just go for a walk, or you know what I mean? Like everyone's experience is going to be really different, and I do know that like we've talked about that like separately. So I just want to make sure and bring that back into the conversation, cuz I don't think that can be like that it can be beaten over people's heads. Like it's all different. Every body is different.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But we're all in the Western world in that bubble
Mhm.
of responsibility to our kids, responsibility to our aging and ailing parents, responsibility to our partner spouse, responsibility to our job. And oh, you're going through menopause and you're going to experience X, Y, and Z. But what if you're actually tuned in to yourself, because we're out there and we're not in here. We're just we're just bowing to all of these responsibilities outside of us and defining ourselves, who we are now, with everything else around us. And we don't honestly know who we are, most of us. And one day you wake up, you hate your job, your kids have moved out, you're not sure about your spouse or partner, your parents are gone, you're feeling all these effects of menopause, you're going, how did I get here and who am I? Because you haven't upgraded her to who you are now. And you've been in this melee of stuff all around you, but you haven't connected in.
Mhm.
And that knowingness, which is not an easy journey. We've got a lot of experience and knowledge and stuff that needs to be unburdened, but we're in the instantaneous, oh, you're going to fix it for me. No, no, no. You have to go through to get to the other side so you can be better. There's no quick way around it.
I love that perspective. I mean, we we create our own realities, and sometimes in one breath it's so liberating, and in the exact same breath it's so frustrating because you are so aware that you create your reality. And with the beauty of this time in a woman's life is that we do get to go through this. Like the other half of the population doesn't get to go through this. We get to go through this, and it is a beautiful thing. And it does come with wisdom, and it does come with experiences, and it does come with the opportunity, if one is willing to choose it, which I think that's what you speak to, is that it's a time to shed. It's a time to release literally what does not need to come into the next chapter of life, the next life.
And it's a massive awareness. Your kids mirror you
Yep.
as they're moving, you're moved from parenting kids to parenting adults. You see that mirror, which is a whole other thing. You see the mirror of a job that your parents are ailing and aging and needing care, that doesn't really resonate with you anymore. You see that mirror of, my God, I've given 30 years to this job. And if I'm not there for the next 3 weeks caring for my parents, they don't care about me. That is a whole identity crisis in itself. And then you have the expectations of a partner who you married at a different age. And if they have not evolved with you, there's a whole plethora of questions around that. I know I took the steps to step out of a long term marriage because it, it was a complete, we were on completely different paths. We were on completely different thought patterns. We had nothing in common. And it's this whole, wow, who am I? And when you look at who you are in this evolved relationship, there's some hard truths in there because my marriage did not dissolve solely because of him.
No, and that the 100% responsibility for the 50% of the relationship is always a great starting point. I loved when I heard that. I was like, oh yeah, 100 of the 50.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because there's multiple factors always.
And menopause, well, I can't do that because of X, Y, and Z.
No, there's no
What if
question
you
in there.
change the perspective and this isn't happening? All of this stuff isn't happening to you. It's happening for you so you can evolve. And it's like they're pushing you to the next level, which is beautiful. It's beautiful. I cannot wait for the next 30 years. I can't even wait for the next 2 months. I'm so excited.
Speaking of next 2 months, and I'm so excited. I mean, I I love hearing anybody, it doesn't matter what they are, but when they are older than me, regardless, 1 year, 10 years, 15 years, and they're excited about living their life, that to me is like hashtag goals. Like, I I love hearing you just speak about that. I love hearing that you look at this time in a woman's life as such a gift. I was just walking around my neighborhood in my own complex today, and there was a gentleman, maybe maybe late 60s, maybe, and he's power walking. And I'm saying hi to him. And he's behind me. And then all of a sudden he catches up to me because I'm just chilling walking. And he was like, we're walking. I'm like, okay, we're walking. Let's go faster. And so we just started walking. And he was talking to me about how like it's such a gorgeous day. I'm gonna get out, I'm gonna get it. And I'm like, oh, what are you doing today? He's like, right now, just this. And I was like, just this. Right now, just this. I was like, yes. And I don't think there's an area in our life where we can't have that perspective. And one that would highly benefit from that perspective is this way of working with women through this time that we go through, and changing, like, what would it look like when the dominant energy starts to change to this way of looking at this time in our life, and we're seeing the generations behind us clearing more, and then they get here and their transition is smoother with less drama, trauma, more advocation for what they do need because they do know their body more. Like, I can see it happening. I definitely know that it's in the younger generations coming up, but we do need to keep going with this dominant perspective, or change the dominant perspective to what you're speaking to. And so in the next 2 months, looking into the future, what are you currently inviting women to in your world?
I predominantly right now do one-to-one healing. So it is usually ancestral. It is usually more than one session because we've all heard of the proverbial onion. You take a layer off, then you're ready to heal the next layer in 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 days. It takes longer than 2 days,
Yeah.
and you get to the core, and then that one's healed. But we have so much gunk that we've come to this lifetime with that our healing, I've been healing intensively for years and extraordinarily intensively for 3.5 years. We're talking when I stepped out of my marriage for 2 years, I was healing 1 to 9 hours a day. I had the luxury of being able to do that because that's what I wanted to do. That's what I needed to do. I've done a lot of healing. So I still regularly do energy healing for myself, for my clients. I have practitioners I work with. I have a tight network. We never stop healing. There is always more. So I work one-to-one with clients. I do spiritual guidance. If you're just wondering, what is all this wacky stuff? And you think you're going crazy, you're not going crazy. You're expanding spiritually. So I guide people through that. I heal energetically. Usually it's ancestral blocks. So we go back 20, 30 generations or more. And we see the ribbons coming through. And one of my gifts is being able to see across timelines, dimensions, and realities. So I'm healing. There's more than just this human experience that we're having, and we can feel the energetics of that. So I have that ability to do that. And I am inviting everybody to my energy alignment assessment, which is a brand new offering. It is 30 minutes with me. I ask you a bunch of questions. The more information you can give me, the better the session is going to be. And we just see where you're not in alignment. I just did the first one. This is a brand new offering. I just did the first one yesterday, and it was magical for her. She was so appreciative of this half hour with me. And if
Amazing.
you want to move into healing of whatever we uncover, that's an option there.
Mm-hmm.
And going into 2026, I am going to be doing very intensive high level healing. I'm only bringing on 10 clients for the year.
Nice.
And that is going to be a massive shift from where you are to where you want to and where you are meant to be. That is one-on-one access to me, one-on-one healing with me, and one-on-one. You're going to get a text link to me.
Because what I
If
always
you
say
want
is,
to make a giant leap, that's where you want to be.
yeah, I always say when you start this work, um, shit'll hit the fan at some point, and that's the most fun. But that's when you don't want to bottle that shit up and save it for later, three,
Yes.
4, 5 months down the road when you have a session with someone.
Oh,
You
it's
want
fun
to
when you
get
don't look.
that. So when I always tell my clients, I'm like, we just opened a box and there might be some funny things in there. And if shit starts hitting the fan, you message me because that's your moment where you ought to be like open to letting it all go. Because I don't want to have you 2 months from down still stinking from something that you're like, oh, I didn't want to. I'm like, I'll address it, like always address it in your own time for sure. That always is the golden rule. But Allison's right. Like that things are layered. It's layering. We never know where it's webbed and weaved into and hidden until you shine a little light on there. And sometimes that part of you is like, maybe I'll come out a little bit. And sometimes it's like, oh my God, I'm here. You're listening to me. I'm gonna do all these things. And I'm gonna like freak out, but it's not a freak out. It's letting it all go so other things can build anew. So if you are ready for that big shift, I
Yeah.
definitely suggest jumping in.
Readiness is the key. I last year I was going through something, and it was deep. It was to do with my ex-husband. And I in my inner circle, I have two people I was healing with at the time, still very good friends of mine, very, very talented. And we'd get together and I'd have something going on. They were really helping me through this. And we'd do something, and then like 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, or a month later, and it was happening over about 4 or 5 months. And finally, something just exploded after about 4 or 5 months. And I just left a voice text and I said, I don't know, but I need help. And I was bawling. And my friend, she called me right away and she said, what do you need? And I said, I don't know. She goes, did it explode on you? What I've been talking to you? And we got into it. And she goes, this is what I've been telling you for 5 months. You just haven't been listening. I said, oh, I've been hearing you. I just haven't been listening. And it just exploded about a year ago because I wasn't ready.
Wasn't ready. No, and when we go in, and this is one thing I always love to remind people of is like when we go into this work, Allison was just talking about this. It's peeling the onion layers. It's the healing will continue to go on because from our perspective, we've lived thousands and thousands of lives. Some people might not have that perspective, and you believe what you want to believe. From our perspective, we've lived thousands and thousands of lives, so healing is layered. It takes time. what I want to remind people of always is that it's not that anything is wrong with you. There's not anything that is deemed negative. We have the opportunity now, because you are choosing to be more aware, to let go of more stuff that we weren't letting go before. And that's very exciting. And sometimes you don't have to heal. Sometimes you're like, I'm good where I am. I just let go of like 15 years. I'm going to like cruise for a bit. And then you'll get the hit to like jump into the next phase. And maybe that hit is like, I'm going to jump into this committed for a year with Allison, so that every time I'm taking one step forward, one step forward, one step forward. Even in those times when shit hits the fan, it all explodes and feel like you got whiplash back in time. You're like, no, I'm still 2 steps ahead of where I was. Like, even when that happens.
You hit the ceiling, you might regress a bit, and then you break through the ceiling.
Exactly.
And when you regress, you don't go below the ceiling. It might feel like it, but you're still above where you were before.
Exactly. So please don't be intimidated if you're like, oh my gosh, I'm not ready for a year. Explore it. Maybe you are. Maybe you're ready just to have that person in your corner as you continue to go through things. And taking her up on these energy assessment, alignment assessment is the perfect way from experience. If you like energy work and you want to go deeper, wider, open to different realms and dimensions. I will say that from personal experience. It's there for you. It's not something to be shy or afraid of. Your body will lead, your body will receive, and you're going to come out of everything with more awareness. And that is, at the end of the day, the main objective here. More awareness for you about you to help you live the life you're meant to live.
And the more open you are, the better it's going to be.
Yeah, definitely. Open mind. Is there anything else that you'd like those listening to walk away with when it comes to this time in our life, women in general?
Yeah, you don't have to accept a mediocrity in your life, a mediocre life. I know from experience. I didn't trust myself. I wasn't strong enough, but I was also done with living a mediocre life. Yeah.
Need to get that like on a t-shirt, front and back, so everyone can read it.
Decisions are hard, but you're stronger than you can possibly imagine.
That's so true. I need to get that on a t-shirt too.
Yes. That's our sideline business. We'll talk.
We'll have a tracksuit for Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday and Friday and Saturday, and then Sunday we just rest. Just different wisdom bombs on a tracksuit.
I love it. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay. Thank you so much, Allison, for just taking the time to chat with me, to be on this podcast. If anybody has any questions for Allison, please drop them in the comments wherever you're watching this episode or these clips. Reach out onto her on Instagram and Facebook. All of the details will be linked up in the show notes on YouTube and Spotify. So if you're catching a clip or something, go there for everything. And she's an amazing woman. I can't speak. I will speak highly of you. There's nothing bad I can say. I've worked with her personally. I thoroughly enjoy her energy. So please, if there's any curiosity, do yourself a favor, do your body a favor, and just reach out and see how you guys can connect in that moment. Anything else before we log off?
No.
Okay. You guys have a fantastic day, everybody. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye. Thank you so much for being here today. I'm so grateful I get to do life and conversation like this together. If today landed for you, I would love to hear what your takeaways were. Hop over to Instagram and hit me up in the DMs or leave a comment below. I love reading all of them. And if you haven't already done so, pay it forward by subscribing, leaving a review, or sharing this with someone that you love. These actions directly impact the show and they help us reach a new audience, so I am very grateful in advance. And if you want to explore working together or dive deeper into this work, you can check out in the show notes all my current offers and ways to connect. Until next time, everybody, have a magical and fantastic day.